2014 at the CVA Christmas party at the Grand Hyatt at Washington, D.C., you were noticeably intoxicated and had to be carried up to your room. Is that true or false?
Anonymous smears.
I'm just asking for true or false questions, true or false answers. Do you think that this behavior of intoxication, going into these type of establishments, women on your staff being so uncomfortable that they have to file these sort of harassment claims, do you think this is appropriate behavior for a leader?
Senator, the overwhelming majority of anyone who's worked for me, including the on-the-record statements that have been submitted to this, with their name on it, on the record, men and women who worked with me every day, are the overwhelming preponderance of evidence that testify to my leadership and professionalism in leading Vets for Freedom and Concerned Veterans for America.
I'm not going to get into the accusations that come from Fox News. I know you have some of your Fox News colleagues here.
You just watched Pete Hegseth, the man Donald Trump is aggressively backing to become Secretary of Defense, face a direct question about reports that he was so intoxicated at a 2014 CVA Christmas party that others had to carry him to his room at the Grand Hyatt. Instead of giving a clear answer, he fell back on shouting about anonymous smears. No yes or no, no acknowledgement, no denial, just the same familiar deflection. This is far from an ordinary nominee. This is the person Trump's inner circle selected to oversee the most powerful military in the world, and Mark Kelly is only beginning to press the issue. This also isn't the first time Pete Hegseth has been confronted with allegations like these. During his time leading Concerned Veterans for America, several former employees described what they said was a consistent pattern: public drunkenness, abandoning the organization's own no-alcohol policy, drinking in front of young female staff members, and a financial settlement connected to sexual assault allegations involving a colleague at a strip club during official business. So how does he respond today? With the exact same two words every single time: anonymous smears. That remains his answer, even when many of those accusations come from people who have spoken publicly under their own names. This is the kind of leader Donald Trump and those around him want to place at the Pentagon. A man who rejects accountability, dismisses every serious allegation as part of a conspiracy, and is willing to sacrifice the truth itself to protect his own reputation. If this kind of unfiltered accountability matters to you, be sure to subscribe and support the channel so we can keep exposing the stories they would rather you never see.
Mr. Hegseth, thank you for being here today. Thank you for your service to this country.
Thank you, Senator.
Few nominees come into this room with all the necessary experience to do this job, to be Secretary of Defense. We get that. It's a reflection on just how big of a job this is. What I want to understand is whether or not you bring any of the necessary experience that this job requires. And here's where I'm concerned. Senator Coleman, in introducing you, and this is a quote, he said, "He has struggled and overcome great personal challenges," unquote. You walk in here saying that you've had personal and character issues in your past, including heavy drinking, which you wrote about. And you said, and this is a quote from you, that you said, "I sit before you as an open book." Yet you haven't actually said what personal challenges it is that you've overcome when you've been asked about them. So I'm going to give you an opportunity here to be as forthright as you say you want to be. So while leading Concerned Veterans of America, there were very specific cases cited by individuals about your conduct. I'm going to go through a few of them, and I just want you to tell me if these are true or false. Very simple.
Kelly began with complete respect. He thanked Hegseth for his service to the nation and recognized the tremendous responsibility that comes with serving as Secretary of Defense. Then, without hesitation, he shifted the conversation. He reminded everyone that Senator Coleman had commended Hegseth for confronting and overcoming significant personal struggles. He also brought up Hegseth's own statement that he appeared before the committee as an open book. That was when Kelly set the trap. If you truly are an open book, he said, then answer these specific allegations with a simple true or false. From that moment on, Hegseth's composure began to unravel. It was visible to everyone watching. He wasn't prepared to confront the allegations directly. Instead, he relied on denial, deflection, and the same worn-out phrase he would repeat throughout the rest of the hearing. That is not the conduct of someone prepared to lead the world's most powerful military. It is the conduct of someone who understands how damaging the facts could be and is depending on Trump's political machine to shield him from having to answer for them.
On Memorial Day 2014, at a CVA event in Virginia, you needed to be carried out of the event for being intoxicated.
Senator, anonymous
True.
smears.
Just true or false? Very simple. Summer of 2014 in Cleveland, drunk in public with the CVA team.
Anonymous smears.
I'm just asking for true or false questions, true or false answers. An event in North Carolina, drunk in front of 3 young female staff members after you had instituted a no alcohol policy and then reversed it. True or false?
Anonymous smears.
December of 2014 at the CVA Christmas party at the Grand Hyatt at Washington, D.C., you were noticeably intoxicated and had to be carried up to your room. Is that true or false?
Anonymous smears.
Another time, a CVA staffer stated that you passed out in the back of a party bus. Is that true or false?
Anonymous smears.
Memorial Day 2014 in Virginia. According to the allegation, Hegseth had to be helped out of a Concerned Veterans for America event because he was too intoxicated to walk on his own. Then came the summer of 2014 in Cleveland, where he was accused of being publicly intoxicated while with the CVA team. Next was North Carolina. After personally putting a no alcohol policy in place, he reportedly reversed it and became intoxicated in front of 3 young female staff members. Then came December 2014 at the CVA Christmas party held at the Grand Hyatt in Washington, D.C. Once again, the allegation was that he was so visibly intoxicated that staff members had to carry him back to his room. And then there was the party bus incident, where a staff member claimed Hegseth passed out in the back of the vehicle. One by one, Mark Kelly presented each allegation with specific dates and details, yet every single time, Pete Hegseth responded with the exact same 2 words, anonymous smears. Not once did he look Kelly in the eye and clearly say, that's false. Not once did he provide a detailed explanation, a timeline, or a meaningful denial. Instead, he repeated the same phrase over and over like a broken record. That is not confidence. It is not strength. It is panic hidden behind a carefully crafted mask. It follows the familiar playbook seen throughout Trump's political circle. When the facts begin closing in, dismiss everything as a smear campaign and hope supporters never dig any deeper. Hegseth is not defending his record. He is taking cover behind the same hollow slogan his political allies have relied on for years whenever they are confronted with demands for accountability. And the more often he repeats it, the more obvious it becomes that he has nothing more substantial to offer.
In 2014, while in Louisiana on official business for CVA, did you take your staff, including young female staff members, to a strip club?
Absolutely not. Anonymous smears.
So, is it accurate that the organization reached a financial settlement with a female staffer who claimed to be at a strip club with you, and there was a colleague who attempted to sexually assault her? Was there a financial settlement?
Senator, I was not involved in that. I don't know the nature of how that played out.
But you understand there was a financial settlement for a young female staffer who accused another member of the organization, not you, of sexual assault in a strip club.
We have multiple statements on the record referring to that.
But you claim you were not there when that occurred.
Absolutely not.
Now, the behavior I cited, if true, do you think that this behavior of intoxication, going into these type of establishments, women on your staff being so uncomfortable that they have to file these sort of harassment claims, do you think this is appropriate behavior for a leader?
Senator, the overwhelming majority of anyone who's worked for me, including the on-the-record statements that have been submitted to this, with their name on it, on the record, men and women who worked with me every day, are the overwhelming preponderance of evidence that testify to my leadership and professionalism in leading Vets for Freedom and Concerned Veterans for America. My
Okay.
leadership has been completely impugned on these veterans organizations that did fantastic work.
Mr.
on behalf
Hegseth,
of the
I'm not
men
even
and
gonna
women
go
fighting
into the-
overseas
I'm not even
and
gonna go into
advocating,
the
and we managed our
accusations.
financial books with integrity across the board. How many people, everybody who runs a campaign.
I have limited time. I'm not going to get into the accusations that come from Fox News. I know you have some of your Fox News colleagues here. There were multiple instances of accusations against you about drinking on the job.
All
coming
anonymous,
in.
all false, all refuted by my colleagues who I worked with for 10 years at 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and everything
The
in
challenge
between,
here for me,
and
Mr.
said
Hegseth,
they've only seen me be professional
is when there is
every
discussion
single time.
about personal challenges, and you admittedly had issues with heavy drinking. It's hard to kind of square this, to square the circle here. It's kind of a difficult thing to do. Let me ask you, if I have about 90 seconds left here, if you had to answer these questions about sexual assault against you and your drinking and your personal conduct, would it have been different if you were under oath?
Senator, all I'm pointing out is the false claims against me.
Okay, I take it you do not want to answer that question.
And this was arguably the most stunning moment of the entire exchange. In 2014, while traveling on official business for Concerned Veterans for America in Louisiana, Pete Hegseth was accused of taking members of his staff, including young female employees, to a strip club. Following that trip, the organization reportedly reached a financial settlement with a female staffer who alleged that a colleague had attempted to sexually assault her at the club. When Mark Kelly asked Hegseth directly whether he had taken his staff to that strip club, Hegseth responded, "Absolutely not," before immediately returning to the same familiar phrase, "anonymous smears." As Kelly continued questioning him about the financial settlement, Hegseth's response became even more revealing. He insisted he had no involvement and claimed he was unaware of the details surrounding how the matter had been resolved. Kelly then posed the question that cut to the heart of the issue. If Hegseth were giving these answers under oath, would anything he said be different? Once again, Hegseth avoided giving a direct response. At that point, the discussion was no longer just about allegations of excessive drinking. It had become a broader question about leadership and organizational culture. According to multiple accounts, Hegseth placed young women on his staff in compromising situations, while the organization he led later paid a financial settlement connected to what allegedly occurred. And this is the individual Donald Trump selected to serve as Secretary of Defense, the civilian leader of the most powerful military in the world, including nearly 400,000 women in uniform. Nominating someone with a record like this is presented not simply as reckless, but as an insult to every woman serving in the armed forces today.
I walked into this hearing this morning concerned that you haven't demonstrated adequate leadership in civilian roles. And this is a dangerous world we're living in here. And America cannot afford a Secretary of Defense who is unprepared for that mission. I'm going to leave with concerns about your transparency. You say you've had personal issues in your past, yet when asked about those very issues, you blame an anonymous smear campaign, even when many of these claims are not anonymous. Which is it? Have you overcome personal issues, or are you the target of a smear campaign? It can't be both. It's clear to me that you're not being honest with us or the American people because you know the truth would disqualify you from getting the job. And just as concerning as each of these specific disqualifying accusations are, what concerns me just as much is the idea of having a Secretary of Defense who is not transparent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Take a moment and consider the contradiction at the center of all this. Trump's inner circle is presenting Pete Hegseth as a battle-tested leader who struggled with serious personal challenges and ultimately overcame them. They want the public to see a man who confronted his flaws, learned from them, and emerged stronger. But the moment Mark Kelly asked him to identify those very challenges, the allegations of heavy drinking, and the specific incidents described by former staff members, Hegseth refused to engage. Rather than explaining what he had overcome, he immediately shifted to accusing unnamed forces of conducting a smear campaign. Every allegation was dismissed with the same response: anonymous smears. Those two narratives cannot exist side by side. You cannot claim to have openly faced and conquered your personal struggles while also insisting that every detailed accusation is simply part of a coordinated conspiracy. The two stories directly contradict each other. Kelly focused on that fundamental inconsistency. He forced Hegseth to choose between those competing narratives, and Hegseth never provided a real answer. That silence revealed more than any prepared statement could. It exposed just how fragile the narrative truly is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back my 2 seconds.
Thank you, Senator.
I was pleased when I was contacted on your behalf about meeting before this hearing. I've been on this committee since 2011, and during that time, I voted to confirm 6 nominees to be Secretary of Defense from 3 administrations, 2 Democratic and 1 Republican, the first Trump administration. Every one of those nominees met with me and my Democratic colleagues on this committee before the hearing. So, as you can imagine, I was disappointed when no one ever followed up. When we followed up with your office, you were not able to meet. Do you understand that if you're confirmed to be Secretary of Defense, that you will have a responsibility to meet with all members of this committee, not just Republicans?
Senator, I very much appreciate and understand the traditionally bipartisan nature of this committee. Their national defense is not partisan. It should not be about Republicans or Democrats. And so I look forward to working together with you and your colleagues on priorities facing this nation. Yes?
I think we would expect that. And one reason that I wanted to meet with you was because I thought it would be really helpful to better understand your views on women in the military. Because you've made a number of surprising statements about women serving in the military. As recently as November the 7th of 2024 on the Sean Ryan Show, you said, and I quote, "I'm straight up saying that we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective." The quote went on a little longer, but that was the gist of it. That was before you were nominated to be Secretary of Defense. Mr. Hegseth, do you know what percentage of our military is comprised of women?
I believe it's 18 to 20%, Senator.
It's almost 18%, and in fact, DOD's 2023 demographic report indicated that there are more women serving now, and there are fewer separations. So they make up a critical part of our military, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, ma'am. Women in our military, as I have said publicly, have and continue to make amazing contributions across all aspects of our battlefield.
Well, you also write in your book, The War on Warriors, with the chapter, The Deadly Obsession with Women Warriors, that, quote, "Not only are women comparatively less effective than men in combat roles, but they are more likely to be objectified by the enemy and their own nation in the moral realms of war." Mr. Hegseth, should we take it to believe that you believe that the 2 women on this committee who have served honorably and with distinction made our military less effective and less capable?
I'm incredibly grateful for the 2 women who've served our military in uniform and including in the Central Intelligence Agency, contributions on the battlefield, indispensable contributions. Senator, I would like to clarify, when I'm talking about that issue, it's not about the capabilities of men and women, it's about standards. And this committee has talked a lot about standards. Standards that we, unfortunately, over time, have seen eroded in certain duty positions, certain schools, certain places, which affects readiness, which is what I care about the most, readiness on the battlefield.
I appreciate that.
And so my comments point time and time again to standards.
Your statements publicly have not been to that effect. After your nomination, you did state to a group of reporters that you, quote, "support all women serving in our military today who do a fantastic job across the globe, including combat." So what I'm confused about, Mr. Hegseth, is which is it? Why should women in our military, if you were the Secretary of Defense, believe that they would have a fair shot and an equal opportunity to rise through the ranks. If on the one hand, you say that women are not competent, they make our military less effective, and on the other hand, you say, oh no, now that I've been nominated to be the Secretary of Defense, I've changed my view on women in the military. What do you have to say to the almost 400,000 women who are serving today about your position on whether they should be capable to rise through the highest ranks of our military?
Senator, I would say I would be honored to have the opportunity to serve alongside you, shoulder to shoulder, men and women, black, white, all backgrounds, with a shared purpose. Our differences are not what define us. Our unity and our shared purpose is what define us, and you will be treated fairly and with dignity, honor, and respect, just like every man and woman in uniform, just like the men and women that I've worked with in my veterans organizations, to include when I was a headquarters and headquarters company commander in the Minnesota National Guard.
Well, I
we had women in
appreciate
our
your
ranks as
11th
well.
hour conversion. But, Mr. Chairman, for the record, I would like to submit Chapter 5, The Deadly Obsession with Women Warriors, for the record. Mr. Hegseth,
But without objection, it will be submitted. and
are you
accepted.
familiar with the Women, Peace, and Security agenda at the Department of Defense?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
This is a law that was signed during President-elect Trump's first term. It was legislation that I sponsored with Republican Senator Capito of West Virginia. It was co-sponsored by Marco Rubio, the nominee to be the President-elect's Secretary of State. It was led in the House of Representatives by Kristi Noem, the President-elect's nominee to be the Secretary of Homeland Security. It mandates that women be included in all aspects of our national security, including conflict resolution and peace negotiations. And at the Department of Defense, it has been the law for 8 years under both the Trump and Biden administrations. The DoD has incorporated women throughout its decision-making as a result. Every single combatant commander across 2 administrations has told this committee that this law and its implementation at the Department of Defense provides them a strategic advantage operationally. Based on your comments, it appears that the example that you would like to set, not only for women in this country, but for women across the globe, 50% of the world's population, as the prospective nominee to lead the most combat-credible military in the entire world, is that women should not have an equal opportunity in our military. So will you commit to preserving the Women, Peace, and Security law at DoD and including in your budget the requisite funding to continue to restore and resource these programs throughout the DoD?
Senator, I will commit to reviewing that program and ensuring it aligns with America First national security priorities, meritocracy, lethality, and readiness. And if it advances American interests, it's something we would advance. If it doesn't, it's something we would look at.
Since former President Trump signed the law, I hope that he agrees with you.
Kelly concluded with what became the most consequential question of the entire hearing. Which is it? Did you overcome serious personal struggles, or are you simply the victim of a smear campaign? It cannot be both. He left no room for an easy escape. Looking Hegseth directly in the eye, Kelly exposed the contradiction in a way that could not be ignored. He then delivered his blunt assessment. Pete Hegseth had not been truthful with either the committee or the American people because, in Kelly's view, the full truth would disqualify him from serving in the role. This was not an ordinary confirmation hearing, nor was it routine political theater. It was Mark Kelly methodically challenging a nominee whom he portrayed as having been protected by Trump's political machine. Each time the questioning moved closer to the facts, the response was the same: dismiss everything as a smear campaign. Each time accountability came into view, the focus shifted to attacking those asking the questions instead of answering them. Kelly refused to accept that approach. He forced the contradiction into the open and left Hegseth with no convincing response. The silence that followed spoke louder than any rehearsed talking point ever could, but the hearing did not end there. As soon as Kelly finished, a female senator took over and turned the focus to Hegseth's record on women serving in the military. Before receiving Trump's nomination, Hegseth had stated his position plainly. During an appearance on the Sean Ryan Show in November 2024, he said that women should not serve in combat roles because, in his view, doing so had not made the military more effective. In his own book, he went even further, arguing that women are comparatively less effective in combat and more likely to be objectified by both the enemy and even their own country. Then, after Trump nominated him, his public message shifted. Hegseth began telling reporters that he supported all women currently serving, including those in combat roles. Senators described the change as an 11th-hour reversal. When questioned about the Women, Peace, and Security Act, legislation signed into law by Trump himself and backed by several of Trump's own nominees, Hegseth declined to commit to preserving it. Instead, he said he would review the program to determine whether it aligned with America First priorities, meritocracy, and military lethality. There was no clear commitment, no defense of the law, only a carefully worded way to avoid taking a firm position. The argument presented by Kelly and other senators was that this reflects the broader pattern surrounding Hegseth's nomination. A willingness to overlook allegations of a toxic leadership culture, sideline concerns about women serving in uniform, and reverse long-held public positions whenever doing so helps secure power. That leaves one final question. Is this the person we want overseeing America's military? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want more direct coverage of hearings and confrontations like this, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We will continue following the facts and examining the claims behind every headline, no matter how often they are dismissed as anonymous smears.